From Zoe: how do you try and educate family and friends who don't understand this illness? So the best thing to do is jump on YouTube and find a good video explaining chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia. And I've got a video on there that talks about chronic fatigue syndrome. If you go into my YouTube channel, which you can from the link in my bio, there's a few great videos that can be really useful and helpful for what you're going through. In a program, that program should have a good explanation of kind of what is required for recovery and what is needed. And so I always recommend all my members to get their parents, get their loved ones, get their spouse involved to watch the videos. And that can be really helpful. And then that way it sets the boundary of what you need to focus on and what you don't need to focus on anymore. Because a lot of energy can get wasted in trying to explain yourself all the time, and you feel like you have to make excuses, and you don't want to have to do that in your recovery. Yeah, so, try and get your family and friends to understand, but at the same time, focus on yourself. Because it really, at the end of the day, yes, support and understanding is really important, but also focusing on yourself and doing what you can to help yourself is key too. Yes, we do have medical experts who support our program and also believe that CFS or ME and CFS is totally possible for recovery. We actually have on our website, you'll probably see somewhere that the head of Royal Children's Hospital, Dr. Lionel Lubitz, who specialises in chronic fatigue syndrome, actually endorses our program and refers many clients, and has done for almost 10 years now. And the other funny thing is we actually have doctors in our program, doctors who have chronic fatigue syndrome, who haven't had any help from the medical world, because really, there's not much that they can do for it. And so they've been looking outside of that to get practical help on a day-by-day basis. And so, yeah, we've had so many doctors, from the past and present who are in our program recovering. So, yeah. That was actually what motivated me in the first place to do this and to help people with this, is because I didn't get the help that I needed, which I sought from the doctors for so many years. And it was a merry-go-round of ups and downs. It wasn't until I finally realised it's up to me to do the practical day-by-day steps. It's up to me to focus on my sleep, my nutrition, my restorative movement, my mindset, my reconditioning. And doctors just don't have the time to teach you this stuff. So really, when I look at people who have recovered and if I look at my recovery, the most important things I did were the things that I did for myself on a day-to-day basis, the stuff that I could control. Nothing outside of me was the answer. It was all the stuff that I did within myself that was the answer. That's not to say that doctors aren't good. I think doctors are brilliant, and there's a time and place for them in recovery too if you need that. But, it's important to have an open mind and, really focus on what is it that I need help with. And going on from that is, what do I need help with? Identifying what it is that's keeping you where you're at, what it is that you're struggling with. Is it, do you need to go down the doctor route and go for further tests and see if there's something else going on? Or is it something that you just need to look within and go, well, am I stressing myself out all the time? Am I not focused on what I should be doing? Am I self-sabotaging myself? Am I doing the physical things right? Am I overdoing it? Maybe I need to underdo it for a little while. Maybe I need to have a less is more approach. The problem is there's such a holistic approach that's needed for this, that there's not just usually one thing for recovery. It's usually a combination of things, and it's very important to identify that within yourself and go, ask yourself the questions. Is it do I need to focus on my nutrition, sleep, restorative movement, mindset? Is there other things outside of that I need to be seeking help with and guidance and accountability on? I've got a question here that says, I have had so many types of recovery programs, but they don't do anything for me. Her next question is, what do I do now? This is a brilliant question. I'm going to demystify this in the next few videos. This will be really, really helpful for all of you. This is the problem that I see that many people go through when they're searching for answers. And the problem is when you put faith into something outside of yourself and you expect a program, a person, a doctor, a medical practitioner, whoever, if you're putting the faith and belief that they're going to fix you or it's going to fix you or help you, it's just not going to work out. Now, I did this for many years, and a lot of people who come to me tell me the same thing. You know, they go through this merry-go-round of trying so many things and nothing works. And there's a couple of things that we need to kind of demystify here, because this can cause a lot of stress and a lot of skepticism as to wanting to try something new because you've been let down before, and you know you have that fear of failure, so to speak. I'll give you a perfect example. When people come and join my program, a perfect example is the other day a lady emailed me finally, who she just found my YouTube channel. She's like, oh my God, for the first time I have hope. After years and years of struggling, there's someone who gets it. And that's really brilliant. I love that. But then she went to say, I can't wait to do your program. Like, finally, this is the answer for me. Like, this is going to get me better. And I actually have to stop her in her tracks, because I don't let anyone join my program with that mindset, because it's actually going to not help them. And I said to her, listen, the program's not going to fix you. The program isn't the answer. You are the answer. The program is a set of guidelines, some support and accountability, and really a set of teachings and principles that you follow and that you can apply to help yourself improve and heal. And that's the difference. And I'll tell you a crazy thing that happened after I said that to her, which was really fascinating. So the fascinating thing was that after I sent that, she took about 24 hours to reply, and then she finally replied and was like, wow, you're right. I've been putting so much pressure on and responsibility on everyone else and everything else that, you know, it's just not the right way to go about it. And instead, you're right. Like, if I just use this as a resource, like anything else, and apply it into my life and use it, and I'm going to get a lot more out of it. And so she joined the program just recently, and she, coming from that place, is a lot healthier than coming from the place of, is it going to work? Is it going to fix me? Yada, yada, yada. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what other people preach. And sadly, there are some people who are, you know, selling empty promises. But, you know, really what I teach and what the program teaches is fundamentals for your own life and your own health to improve. Stop pushing and crashing. Get a baseline. Get a healthy routine structure. Start doing things you love. Nutrition, restorative movement, restorative reconditioning, breath work. You know, things that enhance your energy, and stop the self-sabotage cycle too. And then there's the whole mindset, emotional, you know, part too, where we've got to integrate back into life. What is my life wanting to look like when I move forwards? What do I want to do? What do I love? All those things too. So I think it's important to come in with a healthy approach, you know. And if someone's telling you, like, you know, you've got to do this program and it's the only way and it's the only thing you need to do to get better, I don't know. I just disagree with that belief. I just don't think it's useful. I think it's better to come in with an open mindset and go, okay, well, first you need to identify what you need help with. Like, what is it that you're stuck on? What is it that's stopping you from moving forwards? And then once you identify that, then you can have a plan moving forwards. And until you do that, there's not much point trying and looking for anything. That's what a self-assessment's all about, you know. I've got this little puppy here, and you guys are going to fall in love with it. Hey! What are you doing? Yeah, that's I'm babysitting today. The name's Pope. Hey, Pope. Yep. Got a bone. Just quickly finishing up from that, you know, I assess people before they join my program. You can't just join my program anymore. You know, you have to go through an initial screening call. And the reason for that is because you need to be ready for change. And, you know, we need to make sure we have a healthy, you know, perception of what that looks like. Because, you know, anyone who's expecting overnight change and who's expecting for things just to, like, instantly change when you join a program isn't going to be useful for you or me or anyone else. And so, you know, change requires commitment. It requires work. It requires doing things differently and being open-minded to be coachable to learn that. And so, you know, these are the pre-requirements to join my program, and you know, we help and support and hold your hand all the way through the process, which is, you know, our way of helping you too. Yeah, it is important to make sure that, you know, you're doing the right thing at the right time, for yourself, because everyone's going to be different, if you know what I mean. By the way, you don't always need to do a program. Maybe there's a period of time where you don't need any help at all. And I guess the question you need to ask yourself is like, am I where I want to be? Is this helping me? Is there a better way to do it? Would I like support? Would I like, accountability? Do I need accountability? And am I on the right path? And if you are, and then the answer is like, all right, well, I probably don't need any outside support or help. I can do this on my own, which is totally fine. I just think getting outside help and following, plans and programs and people, as long as they're in line with you, really useful and valuable. And if you've got the resources to do it, then I would say, why not? And that's just my personal view, because that's what I do within myself. Life would be extremely challenging if you didn't have that outside perspective sometimes, and accountability that we all need as human beings to stay on track. A question from Vixter, who says, what are the top 3 things that we should be doing if you have CFS? And this is kind of a tough one, and going back on my previous question, I asked you about identifying what you need help with. I would probably start there. I would get out a piece of paper and a pen and just identify, like, what are the things that you feel are keeping you stuck, or what do you need in order to get to where you want to go? If in 6 months' time, if I could get to X, Y, Z, what do I need to do to overcome that? And you need to reverse engineer that. So maybe it's getting better quality sleep. Maybe it's eating healthier and more consistently. Maybe improving your digestive system. Maybe it's rebuilding and reconditioning your body appropriately. Maybe it's just stopping and pushing, crashing. And maybe calming down your nervous system as well. Or maybe it could be to do with, figuring out your vision. What is it that you want to achieve moving forwards? It's really hard to identify that when you're on your own and you're stuck in the cycle, and that's why getting outside help and perspective can be really useful too. So, my top 3 things are: get the basics right first, get a healthy baseline, be consistent, sleep well as best as you can, and get into a healthy sleep cycle, and do one thing that you love per day, even just for a couple of minutes. I feel like that is really important. And often gets overlooked when it comes to recovery. So they're my suggestions just to get started. It's free, it's easy. Well, it's not easy because you've got to apply it, and that's the hard part. But, do it for yourself. And if you need outside help, then obviously reach out and do that too. I got another question from Zoe. Thanks, Zoe. Zoe asks, what was the number one thing that helped you the most with recovery? Again, as you can see in these last posts, there is not one thing specifically that is the answer for recovery. It's a multitude of things. But if I had to boil it down, really the pivot point for me was when I accepted where I was at. And I was in a pretty bad place, I barely left the house. My body was completely deconditioned. I couldn't do anything. I was a high achieving athlete, and then I was a bed-bound achiever, which meant that I couldn't do anything, and I was just totally struck in bed. And so, I wanted to give up a million times, and it wasn't until two things. It wasn't until I stopped searching outside of myself that I actually started to improve. So, again, with that mindset of shifting, like trying to find someone to fix me or trying to find the answer, like a pill or a lotion or a supplement or a person to do it for me, when I stopped searching for that, which took about 2 years, that was the pivot point. And then the second one was accepting where I was at and then doing stuff with where I was at, which was the bare minimum. But that's what kind of helped me build. And then like reading books and like looking at how to do things differently, like what do I want my life to look like, and getting inspiration from other people who had been through hard times and overcame them was really, really worth investing in too. So I hope that helps, Zoe. Sophie asks, what is your one tip for creating balance if you're struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome? I think balance is kind of hard because there's no right or wrong, and I don't think there is ever a perfect balance. What I do think is that we need to make sure that we're refueling ourselves as much as we're expending energy within ourselves. So I find anything that's restorative, that calms my nervous system down, which is the anecdote of revving my nervous system up, is useful. So, whether it's meditation or elevating your legs against a wall for 5 or 10 minutes, or breathing exercises, or art, or anything that kind of restores that energy back within yourself, is really useful. And it's a practice. We need to keep doing it. You need to, it's a learning thing. And people who get chronic fatigue syndrome are typically people who can't slow down or stop, or find it hard to sit still. And so it's kind of ironic. No lazy person gets chronic fatigue syndrome. It's only people who are real high achievers or doers of the world, go-getters, so to speak. So it's a practice, and I think it's a nice balance between the two. So you get they call the yin and the yang in Chinese or language, but basically getting it right between working out and working in within your day is super important. So I hope that helps. Thank you for all your questions. I hope I answered them well for you, and that it gave you a bit more clarity on what it is you need to do, or you got some reminders from it. If you're needing more help and you want help with any of the stuff that we spoke about today, so anything with nutrition, sleep, restorative movement, mindset, stress and anxiety management, progression, accountability, even if you know what to do but you're not doing it, or you feel like you're doing everything and you're not getting anywhere, that's a huge one that we help a lot of people with. Feel free to message us or send us an email, and just tell us a little bit about you, what you need help with and where you want to be, and then I'll send you some details on how we can work together. Cool. All the best for now, and we will speak to you soon. Bye.